All right. Thank you for doing this, brother. Appreciate it, man. Welcome to another episode of Diasporas. So today I'm be talking to my good friend, Richard. Richard is originally from Kenya. So what city in Kenya you actually born?
I was born in Nakura City, which is now just became a city this year.
So it wasn't a city before.
It wasn't a city. It was. It just got the charter this year, the city charter this year. But yeah, before it was just. I think it was the fourth largest, most populated area in Kenya, because you do have Nairobi City, you have Kisumu City, and then you have Mombasa City, and then Nakuru is basically one of the largest counties. And so they
It's a
just
county, but is it like a what wasn't a city then? Was it more of a
no,
town?
yeah, they didn't give it the charter, but because of urban development right now and everything that's happening over there, they gave it, they gave them the charter of the city. It's quite unique compared to the other three cities because it has a it's not like a concrete jungle.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. You have like vast land of like wildlife, yet you also have a lot of agriculture going on, and at the same time you have like urbanization at the same time.
So what do you mean wildlife? You mean like safaris?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was like, if you know, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how you if you've heard people talking about going to the national parks in Nakuru. Typically, people go to the national park in the places called like Masai Maras and stuff like that. But Nakuru does have some of the best safaris, some of the best lakes,
Right.
and so that's why like it's kind of out of the norm to have a city that has all these kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it the one that has the airport that have a safari in it? Or was I think
No, that's Nairobi.
that's Nairobi.
Yeah,
I
that's
think so,
Nairobi.
I think.
Yeah, because when you're landing into Nairobi,
Mhm.
literally when you're landing into the airport,
Yeah.
you are going above like when you look through the window, you just see elephants and zebras and everything just running away from the sound.
That is amazing.
Yeah, so you just and Nairobi is the only city in the world that has actually a game reserve or a reserve in the world in the capital city. So that's
That's
why it's so
beautiful.
unique just flying into Nairobi. That's a fun fact.
So you remember the name of the city again?
Nakuru.
Nakuru.
Yeah, Nakuru. That was
So
born. It's the Rift Valley province.
so what tribe is dominant in Nakuru?
Oh, that's funny. I I come from the Kikuyu tribe. So the Kikuyu tribe is the largest tribe in the entire country in Kenya,
So
and
what
they're scattered all over all over the country.
country?
Yeah, I would assume and I don't have the statistics correct, but
Right.
I think that they're the largest group in the largest tribe.
So you were saying Kikuyu
Yeah,
spread.
Kikuyu is one of the tribes. So in Kenya, we have about, I think, 44 tribes and counting, at least 44 that are known.
Which one are the leading tribes? So
Oh, Kikuyu is. And then all the 44 tribes, they are grouped into three major language groups.
okay.
And so the three major language groups are like, so you have the Bantu, which is the biggest.
Mhm.
The Bantu, that's my language group,
Okay.
includes a bunch of languages in it.
Okay.
And then you have the Kushites, and then you have the Semites. Sorry, Bantus, Nilotes, and Semites.
Semites.
Yeah,
So Kikuyu is grouped into Bantu, right?
yeah, exactly. So Kikuyu is, and usually when we say Bantu, they typically have to have they have similar word structure, like their wording and like a lot of phrases, dialects, almost the same.
Right.
But when you move from Bantu to Nilot, that's completely different. It's like moving from English to Arabic.
Right.
It's completely different. Where else, if you just like within the Bantu, you have it's like different dialect. You have different dialects. It's just like having Australian accent, British accent, and American accent. It's all English.
Right.
They can all understand each other. But of course, when you go to Scottish or like when you go to Scotland,
Welsh.
yeah, well, they tend to speak different. Yeah, so
Right.
that's similar with the Bantu, and of course, it gets super diverse. And some people can understand that my language, even though they're not native speakers of my language, but because there's so many words that are the same, they are able to tell what we're talking about.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So where is Oluo for?
Lu is a Nilot.
Nagas.
Nilots, yeah, they like
Nilots.
priding themselves about like Nilotic speakers. It's more like English.
Hmm.
They tend to think they're better English speakers in the country.
I think every tribe thinks like that in Africa, right?
But the Luo people like, oh my gosh, these guys, they're the type of people who would live in a shack and be driving a BMW.
They're confident people.
Exactly. It's all about it's all about like what do you call it?
The
Like the show
outlook.
off.
Yeah.
It's about the looks.
So tell me more about the Kikuyu tribe. Like, if you have to characterize your tribe with one quality, which I'm just like,
Oh,
it could be
yeah,
anything.
business. We are business minded people. That's one thing I can tell you. Kikuyus, they try to see an opportunity in every single thing. Like if you give me like an acre of land,
Mm.
the first thing I'm gonna think about, I'm not just gonna think about building and living in there. I'm gonna think about investments.
Hmm.
So we try to turn everything into profits. And like we're really business minded people, and that's why like we are scattered all over the world.
Right.
There's too many of us, but they have limited opportunities back in Kenya, and so there's too many of us, and of course we just explore outside to just find to go ahead the grass is green.
Where there's more opportunity, basically.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So I was very excited to talk to you because I've known you now, I think close to 3 years probably.
Mm-hmm.
So but you have a really interesting migration story of how you get to America, which is kind of like out of the norm. So if you don't mind, I want to dive a bit into that. So now you grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, what do you grow up?
So of course I spent first half of the first 8 years of my life was spent in the Rift Valley province, Nakuru, yes. So I grew up in the village basically. Amazing. Growing like in a farm, everything. It wasn't urbanized; it was just rural area. So I grew up
Right.
there for 8 years, and then I lived there, and I lived 8 years in the city, in the capital city of Kenya, Nairobi.
Right.
Yeah, and then after my 8 years, because I came to the States when I was 16
Hmm.
in 2011.
So your first 8 years at the village, what was that like?
It was amazing. I mean, it was just I didn't like it was simple. It was basically super simple. Lived on basic basically agriculture, livestock, going to school, coming back home, and just having plenty of land and plenty of people to hang around with. It wasn't like material stuff. There was no competition. It was just a simple life based on like communities values and stuff like that.
Do you miss like your village?
Some of it, I do miss the village. I wouldn't say I don't think I would want to go live where I came from because I'm
Right.
always looking ahead. Because a lot of people that I grew up with are still over there, and I didn't see them progressing in life, and that's not me. It's not
Right.
in my blood. It's not in my tribe's blood, and it's not in like my interest to wanna. I would invest in my village, but I don't think I would. I would wanna go and live back there.
So moving to the city. So why did you move to the city?
Oh, so we do have my grandparents, my parents. They own a property in the city, and of course it was just about them giving me a better a better chance in life.
Right.
Once you're in the people in the village, they don't have the same opportunities or the same resources as far as like opportunities to attend good schools, opportunity to learn different languages, or else back in the village you tend to speak only like one language.
Right.
Yeah, and so you are not challenged. So for you to get that challenge, if you're promising, you just move somewhere where you're just going to be made to think out of your box. Mind you, we have so we have Swahili, we have English, and we have our own tribal languages, just like Nigeria has. But when you're in the village, you tend to speak your own tribal language.
Right.
But when you go to the city, you're forced to learn English and Swahili at the same time.
Right.
So that's a challenge. That's already making you think outside the box. And so, of course, just having all these cultural experiences, and there's no way you'll be able to advance in the country or become someone who's very, very, very important in the society if you're just going to be in the same village and never like try to explore what's out there. So Nairobi, that's why my parents took us to Nairobi, and went to school over there. Got a lot of amazing opportunities, and of course, I'm so grateful for that opportunity because going back to the village, I get to see a lot of people who do not get to experience the type of lifestyle that I did in Nairobi.
So like
Yeah.
it was kind of like an instant. The moment like you left your village to Nairobi, then when you come back, you just kind of like seeing yourself
Yeah.
already thinking different, right?
Yeah, that's true. So the funny thing is, when I left when I was 8 years of age, and I didn't. So and this was in oh my gosh, this was in 2002. In 2002, I didn't go back to the village until in 2019. I went back after 18 years.
Wow.
And it was interesting. I mean, a lot had changed. The funny thing is, a lot of people that I went to school with were still in that mindset, and to me, it's kind of sad because I'm like, most of my friends growing up as kids, we both had dreams.
Right.
Everybody had these dreams they wanted to become when they grow up. But it was just shocking to me when I saw them just in the same place that I left them.
Right.
And so that's another sit. And that's when I say that I don't think I would want to live in the village, is because as much as I want to challenge their thinking, they're not willing and they're not open to having different viewpoints. Yeah.
So, will you describe village life as fun? I know so many people think like village life is like horrible and
no, it is not. It is simple. I like, to me, when you just talk about village life, I just think about simplicity and just finding joy in the small things in life. The fact that we don't rely so much on material. Funny thing is, when I lived in the village, we didn't have a TV, and then in my village, I think we're the only people who had a radio, and we couldn't watch like soccer on a TV. But people in the village, my boys would come into my place, and we put the radio in the middle of the crowd, and then we'd be listening to football, soccer back home.
right.
Yeah, and that was so awesome. All of us just having a get together, be like 20 of us, adults, kids, and everybody, just one radio station, and just watching and listening. Not watching, basically listening to football commentators.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like. So do you think part of that too is what makes your friend now want to leave, because there's comfort? Because
they are too comfortable. That's right. They're too comfortable. And of course, like when you live in the village, you're not renting, right? So you're not renting, so you don't have that many responsibilities.
Right.
Most of your income is based on your agriculture products.
Right.
So the fact that you have a massive acres of land, you're able to generate income using whatever produce you get out of it.
Right.
And then there's also bartering. Money doesn't have that much value, but where else is like we do trading, a lot of trading.
It's more of like value kind of.
Exactly.
Like
So money has no that much value, but like, it's, say for example, I wanted sugar, and I want sugar, and you want flour. I'll bring you. Yeah, we just exchange, and we call it good, like that. And so there isn't that, like, money isn't that big of, and that's one thing I learned when I was in the village. It's funny, when I went to Nairobi, to the city, I didn't know how money to me wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't respect money because to me it wasn't that big of a deal. But eventually I came to learn. Yeah, and that's why, well, I mean, now people do know money. In the village, it's becoming more and more modernized, and a lot of people are realizing, oh my gosh, we've been wasting, but we've been stuck in one place for so long.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you just haven't figured out how to kind of.
Exactly. Like they're too comfortable. They didn't want to think outside the box or coming out of their comfort zones.
So, what is a music that you can teach me about that? Well, who's like a Kenyan artist that I need to listen to right now?
Sauti Sol.
What's his name?
Sauti Sol. So that's
Sauti
a band.
Sol?
Yeah, Sauti Sol. Sauti means sound.
Okay.
In Swahili. So Sauti Sol, it's to me, I think they're the most authentic Kenyan band that brings in the Kenyan vibes into their music. They're not trying to be westernized, and I feel like if you listen to them and watch how they do their music, you probably you notice instantly there isn't much Western culture in it.
Is it what type of music it is? Is it just in Kenyan music, or is it a type of like music that?
Oh no,
you know how it's like Afrobeat.
So it is Kenyan style. They think soul.
It's called soul.
It's like soul, I guess, like the Saudi. So it's I'm terrible when it comes to genres, but they
Yeah,
do.
genre. That's what I want to
Yeah,
ask.
yeah. So the genre of the music, I think it's like it's not hip hop. They do some hip hop, they do some praise and worship, they do some gospel, but they bring a different vibe into it. But it's
Right.
not like they're secular, of course. They're secular musicians, but it does have a lot of pop culture in it as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a little bit of hip hop. They do collaboration even with West African musicians such as Yemi Alade. They do a lot of
Yeah.
that. But their music, when it's pure, not collaborated with anybody else, it's just amazing. It
Just
just gives,
authentic.
yeah, it's very authentic.
And if I'm spelling this out for someone that want to go search it, it's like
Sauti,
Sauti.
yeah, Sauti. So Swahili words the easy Sauti, and then soul is the SOL.
Yes, well, I would have spelled that so
You,
wrong. That's why I asked you
yeah.
to. That's why I asked you to kind of like
Yeah, they're
spell
amazing.
it.
It's funny. I think they're the most known band, Kenyan band, and of course, there's a guy called Nyashinsky. Nyashinsky, that's a long ass spelling. Nyashinsky, really good. It's kind of funny. I feel like I'm advertising for them.
It's all good. Yeah, you should. I mean, well, that's you never know. I mean, someone like me, I don't know about South to South. I have to check him out. I kind of see what his vibe is because I like native like hometown music. Just like how like I like Afrobeats, of course. I like the new one, but I like listening to like Fela old school more because that one is more like authentic, like kind of before it become mainstream, whatever it is now.
Yeah.
And also it's kind of like anyway, I just enjoy that. So
Yeah. And having their own style. Like I feel like Sauti Soul, they do have their own style that they're bringing in that's not copied from the West. And so there is that Sauti Soul, and then there is Heart the band. Heart the band.
Heart the band.
Yeah, heart, like just the word heart, and then the band.
Okay.
Band, I guess. And they also bring really good pop music into it. Amazing. You'd love it.
All right. So, as someone that live in Nairobi, if I flew into Nairobi tomorrow and I'm on the street, I want to grab a bite. What should I go for?
Oh my gosh, I'm terrible for. So right now Nairobi is becoming way too much westernized. So that's one of the problems. The fact that we've had KFCs, but Burger King is there. But I would say the quickest thing, the most popular and quickest food that to get in Kenya, it's sausage.
Sausage?
Yeah, we call them.
Interesting.
Yeah, sausage and fries. We call them sausage and chips.
You guys sausage and fries?
Yeah, it is, and eggs.
Bro, that is a weird mixture, bro.
Sausage, fries. If you want the office to be empty in the afternoon, go to the street.
So is it? Hold on 1 second. Is it like sausage, like in hot dog?
Yeah, exactly. We call them just sausage. It's we have a particular brand, which is I guess it's only but in Kenya. It's called Farmer's Choice. It's well known. It's really good. We call them smokies.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called Farmer's Choice. So you usually get that. You get a boiled egg. They crack it for you.
So was it? So isn't like it's not scrambled eggs?
No. Nobody got time for that because scrambled eggs will be picking up all the dust and stuff like that in the street.
Okay.
No, yeah. So they just boil. They just boil it, and then they just walk around. Man, it's just like a quick snack. It's an easy meal to grab as you're moving around.
I guess it's a high protein food. If I think about it.
Exactly. And there are people who live on that stuff. And then the other thing is corn on the cob, but roasted corn.
Roasted corn. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. People on the street just like on a fire stove and just like making it real.
So let's say I want to sit down and I want to have a traditional Kenyan meal, right?
Okay.
I'm assuming like I'm either in a restaurant somewhere or maybe I'm at someone's home. What am I having?
Interesting. So every region of the country has its its own authentic food that they're known for. Nairobi is a mashup culture. It's just like the United States. Now, inside Nairobi, there are so many different restaurants and authentic restaurants. But if, say, for example, you're in the coast of Kenya, which is Mombasa, which is the second biggest city in Kenya, there they have more Middle Eastern food, lamb. We have lamb, rice, like the biryani, because they have a lot of Indian cultures. And if you go to the lake region, which is now the western part of the country, it's a lot of fish. They're known for fish, making their own fish. and then there is, so you guys have fufu.
Right.
Our it's yours is softer. Ours is harder.
Right.
Yeah, and so the main African meal that you always find in every single restaurant that you go to in Kenya is going to be it's a mixture of maize flour and hot water, and then it's a lot of greens and beef.
Isn't that called ugali?
Ugali, exactly.
Yeah. So you guys have ugali,
a lot, plenty,
and then there will be you say beef and sauce, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what is in that sauce?
So the sauce can be like the ingredients.
No, I'm just saying, like, is it like a tomato sauce? Or
Oh, no,
what
no.
kind of
So,
sauce it is it
yeah,
vegetable
of
sauce?
course, it has vegetables. Mostly it's collard green, kale, spinach, and then of course you have the beef, or you have the options. We are not big on beef as we are big on goat. Yeah, so we eat plenty of goat. But like it is very common in Kenya. Like if you say, for example, it was on a weekend and you say, "Hey, let's go out," uh, it's customary to start with barbecue, and our barbecue is goat. A lot of tomato.
Goat barbecue?
Yeah, goat barbecue.
Interesting.
Lots and lots of tomatoes with avocados and hot pepper.
Interesting.
And Kenyan beer, which is called the Tusker. So that's a common like
Tusk?
It's called Tusker, which is like
We have in, I think we have in Nigeria, I think.
yeah, which is brewed in Kenya. It's their Kenya. You guys probably have like a Kenyan one that get imported over there because they're over here as well. But yeah, they're known for that. It's a light beer. It's like a pilsner.
So if I'm hearing it right, if let's say I landed in the morning, I'm getting that street food, sausage, eggs,
yes,
and fries, and then evening time, maybe I go to my hotel or I snap. Yeah. I'm gonna start with barbecue goat.
Oh yeah, you know
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And then from barbecue
pre-game stuff, yeah.
Then I can maybe go to dinner.
Yeah.
Get me some ugali.
Fish.
So does the sauce has a name?
No. So it is like all these Indian curries and all those sauces. So they have a lot of options, especially if you're going to be having the fish. It has a lot of sauces that honestly I don't know the names of it because a lot changes in Kenya and the introduction of new cooking methods and people just coming up with different style. It's really, I won't say it's not the same as it was when I left about 10 years ago.
But just get something with vegetable on the safe side.
Okay, cabbage, plenty.
Cabbage.
Yeah, we like cabbage a lot, and then we like kale, which we sukuma. Sukuma, kales. We eat.
What is sukuma?
Sukuma is kales.
That's the name for it.
Yeah, sukuma. We call it sukuma. It's just the kales and the collard greens. So that's a very popular Kenyan dish, and sometimes they mix it up with beef or chicken, or sometimes they separate it. But it's very popular. Like Kenya is big on barbecue, by the way. Very big on barbecue. So if you ever barbecue and fries, so if you ever run like the most common thing that you always find in every single massive restaurant, you always have an option of barbecue, goat or barbecue beef.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So let's go back to my last question on food. Will be biryani.
The biryani.
You made me hot. I think you had it because we went to an Indian restaurant together.
Yeah, the top of India.
You said biryani is a Kenyan food, which is like
I
didn't understand how Kenyan food got on an Indian menu.
So Kenyan. That's a good question. So Kenya has a lot of influence with the Indian culture.
Why is that?
It is massive. So this is how it goes. So before, like during colonizations, there were three groups of people like hierarchies in Kenya before colonization, and this was what the British were called the first class citizens, the Indians were second class citizens, and then the normal Kenyan was the third class citizens.
And when you say Indians, you mean India for the country India,
yeah, exactly.
Not American Indians.
Exactly. So we have a lot of like Persians, all the Middle Eastern and Asian, because of so much trade was happening in the coastal region of Kenya. And there was a lot of interaction from the Indian Ocean, people coming from India.
Are you guys close to India?
We are close to Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
the Indian Ocean.
Indian Ocean.
Yeah. So yeah, because after you cross the Indian Ocean, you got Saudi Arabia, and then if you coming far east, you're coming to Kenya, going the other way. Yeah, and so there was a lot of trade in between, and so Indians known for businesses like a lot of businesses in Kenya, and so that culture Like it's massive. It's common to find a biryani in well-established restaurants, and in the coastal region, it's even the best. They have like some of the best, which they make it in a Kenyan style,
Right.
which is slightly different compared to the biryani that we had at that place. Yeah, and they eat with hands,
With
no
hands.
no no no
No
forks.
spoons.
Yeah, I'll look.
So now let's go to the next part
Mhm.
of the conversation. Do you remember the first time like you had the first influence of America? Like was that in the movie or what was the
Yeah.
first time you thought about America?
Oh my gosh, it's kind of funny because the first time I ever thought of America, I heard of the word America, and I didn't know exactly what that is. When we heard America, we were just told it's a beautiful place. That's all. And my first initial thought is my mom and I were cutting grass to go feed the cows in the village, and I remember seeing a plane fly over, and I told my mom one day that's gonna be me on that plane going to America. I didn't even know who America was, but from what I've heard, I was like, it's better than here. Yeah, yeah. And so after that, of course, I started investing exactly what is America. So when I got to the city, of course, like I said earlier, we didn't have TV or anything like that. Everything we had was from local channels and radios in our vernacular languages. But in the city, there was more exposure into the Western culture. So in the city, of course, the American concept was introduced to us as this superior place, and of course, from the movies, and it was just like a place where there is no poverty, no crime, nothing like that. And I remember this had been the case from 2002 all the way through 2000 and probably 2009, and even became a bigger concept when Obama became the president, mind you, because Obama has roots in Kenya. So for us, America was just this amazing place that we wanna go, and everything we had been showcased about the country was just because like it's like a land of honey and milk. So in Kenya, so to us, and then the funny thing is, of course, movies and everything basically showed us what America was, but like it wasn't exactly clear.
I think we all build it up in our head, even though
Mhm.
I mean I saw the movies and I thought like everywhere looked like Miami, you know.
Yeah, exactly. New
That's-
York City,
yeah.
LA, yeah.
We all think like when you come here, it's gonna be easy. You're gonna get everything you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. So I'm gonna get a little bit into like the story you've told me.
Mhm.
Well, I actually don't know the story that much, so that's probably why I want to bring it up. So, how did you know after you moved to the city? What happened that got you to the place where you were living? What is it called? I wanted to introduce to that. I don't
Oh,
even know to
in
talk
the
about it.
city?
Yeah, no. I'm talking about after you moved to the city.
Uh-huh.
I think you told me at some part of your journey you had to go
Mm.
live somewhere.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
how what happened? What led to that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I didn't know. You know, I don't think we ever like kind of like talked about that.
Oh, got you. Okay, yeah, yeah. So I lived in the city, of course. As soon as I left the village in I think it was in 2002. No, 2002. I was in second grade. Okay, I lived in the city until, oh gosh, I always forget these dates. I think until 2005, and then 2005 I moved back to the province that I had come from.
Nice.
Let me see. I don't remember the grades at this time
You don't
because
have
we had
to,
been
bro.
held back.
It doesn't have to be accurate, bro.
I know.
Nobody's checking.
I know. Oh yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody's
Yeah.
checking, bro.
Yeah. So I was man, the education system over there, it's kind of weird.
Right.
So if you come like middle and stuff like that, you get held back, and so I lost kind of track of what grade I was over there. So I lived in I went back to the same province, which is Rift Valley, and 2007 all the way to 2010, and then that's how I ended up coming to the States after I finished high school. I mean, after I finished primary school, yeah, after my 8th grade.
So I was the process of like coming here. I was halfway.
That was probably one of the most interesting part, because of course, you probably know most of the story.
Right. No, yeah.
But my,
Keep going.
yeah, but my viewers don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so Kenya, of course, being a tourist destination. So my host dad, he came to Kenya I had finished 8th grade, and I was in high school for my first, for my 9th grade, I believe so. And it had only been about a couple months I had been in high school. And so you have this American who comes to Kenya to tourism. And because I was on a school break, I happened to be his tour guide. And so we clicked and everything was amazing. And like I said from earlier, I've always been interested in knowing what America is all about.
You already dreamed. You told your mom.
Exactly. Exactly. And so he sees this, but I'm not trying to push an idea to him like, hey, do you mind bringing me over? No, it's just like I'm just curious. I've always been wanting to learn more things and stuff like that.
Right.
But I've always wanted to travel, but I couldn't afford the travel.
Right.
However, I was very sharp in school.
Right.
Yeah.
You're very smart, bro.
Yeah. I mean,
Smart.
sometimes you have to, if you have a goal, you just have to work extra hard compared to other people if you know what you want.
Right.
At the end. So of course, I'm the tour guide. I could speak good, okay English, even though we learn English in Kenya, but we don't communicate in that language for so long.
Right.
Yeah. And mind you, when tourists that do come to Kenya, most people, like my host dad, who's now my actual dad, he came. I was living at the orphanage. After, of course, I lost my dates in there, like in between. But I was living in there, in a children's home in Kenya, like in the Rift Valley region, which is this. It's kind of funny because it's going back to where I was born, the same province but a different city. And the city where I was living at in the orphanage was close to Nairobi. It was only like an hour and a half from Nairobi. So it's towards the fine.
At the time where you met him, you were in an orphanage.
Yeah, I was in an orphanage. Yeah. And so he came to volunteer at the orphanage, and I happened to be one of the kids who wasn't shy. I was always inquisitive. I wanted to know like a lot of things to do with the States. And I showed him around. Basically, I was his tour guide. And he basically ended up following up, like getting, asking more information from the owner of the orphanage about me. And of course, he did his quick assessment. And when he came back to the States, I had a talk with his wife. And his wife was like, so you went to Kenya and you had a great time. So what do you think of, what made it good? And of course, he brought me up.
Right.
And so his wife was like, well, if you had such a great time and people left an impact on you, do you want to do something in return? And he was like, if there's one person I can think of, it's none other than Richard. So
you were able to basically leave an impact big enough for him that he actually come home and actually have a conversation.
Exactly, yeah. And that's so amazing. The process, so at that time is I was in a high school my first year. Like I said, I had just finished my 8th grade, and I was in 9th grade. I had only been a 9th grader for 3 months or something like that. So they started doing the process of exchange program. Mind you, Africa is known for doing exchange programs with the US.
Right.
It's usually like a Western thing.
Right.
And so they applied, did the whole immigration process, exchange program, which is the J1 visa for high school, where you come to the US and you study for 9 months for this exchange program, and you go back to your country.
Really?
Yeah, and you go back to your country, and usually you have to wait for 2 years to get the same type of visa.
Say again, and then come for F1.
Yeah, and then so but there are rules, but I guess they're not enforced that strictly. I mean, if you've been here on good records and everything, and you go back and you have the resources of coming back, the means of coming back, I should say, they're going to grant you depending on where you're coming from. So I finished so I came in 2010 August 2010 and to 2011 school year. That was supposed to be my exchange period. And then, of course, my parents and I fell in love with the country. And so we had to look for different ways that I would have to stay. But you have no option. You have to go back and get another visa. Coming from an African country, it's not like you can just be like, hey, I'm going to extend my visa.
No, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of stress.
Exactly. It's a headache. So I had to go back home and get a new visa. And
you went back to Kenya?
I had to go back to Kenya.
Oh, really?
After that, which it was interesting because I landed, I left June of 2011, and in July I had an appointment for a visa, and they granted
They
me
granted
the,
you.
yeah, the visa. So I got an F1 visa for
Amazing.
Yeah.
For college now.
yeah. So I actually came and finished up my high school. Had 1 year left of high school, and then the beauty about like transitioning visa as a student from high school to college, you don't have to go back. I don't know other countries, but for Kenyans, we don't have to go back. Just apply to college. If you get accepted, they just go ahead and change your status from a J1 to an F1, and it gets approved.
You guys
Yeah,
get so
and
much
yeah,
luxury.
yeah, and you don't
Shout
need
out
the-
to Obama.
yeah, you know, visa is just like knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Now it's about them opening the doors.
Yeah,
They
people don't know that. I think we should give Obama a little shout out. I think
I
he
know.
really did help Kenyan citizens have
Yeah,
easier
a lot.
transition for
Yeah.
American visa, which is
Mhm.
and in a reminder for all of us diasporans, if we ever get any big opportunity, we should try and think of our people back home and do something lasting like that.
Oh yeah,
Because people that are like, great, hopefully grandparents of Obama will benefit from his rule that he made now if they keep
Yeah.
keep it up.
exactly. Yeah, especially the fact that now we can we can get a 5-year visa just like any other Western country.
Right.
Like Kenyans can get a 5-year visitor's visa
Yeah.
like other Western countries do when they come to the
Yeah.
US. That was good. And then on top of that, not only did he just help Kenyans, but like worldwide, for most of us coming from the African continent, is that like do you want me to talk about my going into the military?
Oh my, yeah. I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna wait on that one. I was actually gonna go back a bit before we get to the military and all that.
I won't. Okay, I
To the
won't.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna go there.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we finish that part. So
Mhm.
before, when they come back and they let you know someone is planning to come pick you, like
Mhm.
who called you? Was it the people here that called you, or was it your?
No, it's funny.
friend?
They kept a secret from me. They kept it a secret from me for like a couple months. I didn't know I was coming to the States, and growing up in the orphanage, rumors spread like a wildfire.
Right.
I didn't know exactly what was happening, and I guess they didn't want to let me know that I'm coming to the States because they didn't want me to get big-headed.
Get big-headed, right?
and start slacking behind. Of course, if you find out that you're coming to the States, first thing you want to do is like, I'm not going to school.
Right.
I'm waiting for
I'm
this.
not going to
Yeah,
school.
I'm
I mean,
waiting
that's
for
not
this
what I
visa.
would think of, but
No, for me, it's like, I'm done. I'm like, why do I have to struggle walking 4 miles a day to go to school if I know I'm coming to the States?
So you were walking 4 miles.
4
a day?
miles to school, man, in the morning.
One way?
One way. Oh, sorry, round trip.
But
You know
that's
what,
a 2 mile one way, 2 mile
Yeah.
back way.
I would say it's 7 kilometers. I think 7 kilometers is about 4 miles.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, nobody's gonna drop you in school. So you have to walk to school. So you're like,
I know. And then, if you know, like African parents, man, they're
Yeah.
so big on formal education. So to them, they don't think you can succeed without formal education.
I don't blame
props to
them,
them.
man.
Props to them because that's how they were brought up, and some
Right.
of them actually didn't finish. But like they really, they really push it upon their kids. And so the parents, the manager of the orphanage was like, hey. Like, y'all better be going to school, blah, 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 blah. So they kind of kept it under the table from me. But of course, I had to find out one way or the other because they had to get a passport for me and visa.
They have
I'm
to
like,
tell you at some point.
Yeah, but so when they told me you have a passport appointment, find out on that day that I'm going to get a passport. So I got the passport, but in my head, I'm like, okay, these guys are sending me to Uganda.
You better go and send it to Ghana,
Yeah,
bro.
because usually when you're a good student over there, they tend to take you to Makerere University, some of these really good high schools in Uganda.
Right.
And so that's what I did. They were doing to me. So I was like, okay, cool. That's awesome. I get to go outside the country and see other places. And I'm like, visa appointment? So they start, and then they were like, oh yeah, by the way, you have a visa appointment. I'm like, visa for what? And then that's when they said, yeah, we have to break it to you. You're going to the States.
Wow.
Yeah.
Once they grant your visa, what was that feeling like?
Oh my gosh, bro! I don't know if I've ever felt like that. I felt like I was walking outside the interview room. I didn't feel like I was stepping on the floor. I felt like I was just walking in the air.
It's just like you were so excited.
I was so excited. Like I had this moment of shock because sitting over there watching the interview, like there were people before me, and you get to sit there. If you've ever been to like a visa appointment in an American consulate, you know the pressure that goes into it, and not just seeing people. But for me, I was so innocent, so naive. I didn't think of anything wrong. I had no reason to think.
Because you
Why
were
would they?
super young, right?
Yeah, I was so young, so I didn't understand like
The process.
yeah, and nobody had told me people get denied visas.
That's a good one. That's a good one to tell you.
Yeah, so
That might be the trick. If someone wants to go through an interview, don't tell them to get
don't
denied.
think about like being denied a visa. So,
Yeah.
and so to me, I was like, okay, cool. All these people are going, and I see people getting turned around, they would turn around crying. I see them arguing with the consulate, but it still didn't hit me yet because I'm so excited, even just being in an American embassy, and I'm seeing all these different things in my own country that I've never been exposed to. So I'm just so excited, I'm living in the moment. I'm not trying to think ahead of that moment that I'm living in. Yeah, and I just seen people getting turned around, getting into arguments with the consulate. And I just remember it was my time to go there. 7 people ahead of me had been denied, but to me it didn't even click that they were getting denied by the same guy. And I go there, mind you that you have to show up with a lot of documentation, proof that you're going to support yourself, everything, and they already have all your information beforehand before you go there, so they just want to confirm. And I guess everybody, I believe we all have a vibe, an energy that we bring into the people we interact with. And just the innocent self, I go there, big smile, and I'm looking at the guy. Of course, I don't say, hey, good morning, how you doing? And then and he responds back really nice, and I'm like, oh, you're the same guy who was really harsh with the people previously. But like to me, I was like, oh, it's just an interaction. It's some like this. He's not God. Like I shouldn't be afraid. It's just like normality. And he goes like, hey, do you have your passport with you? And I give him my passport, and he only asked me a couple questions. The first question, he was like, oh, so you're going to the state for exchange program? And I said yes. And then he looks at my passport. I don't know what he does with it. And then he goes, oh, you forgot to sign this part, because you have to sign your passport. I didn't have that portion signed. And I sign it. And this guy goes, come for your visa in a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember that. So the lady that I grew up with in the orphanage, the owner of the orphanage, she was sitting over there. Of course, you couldn't be allowed to come over there because I'm 16 years of age. I can speak English.
Right.
And so she wasn't needed. And she was in shock sitting over there asking me, did you get the visa? Did you get the visa? Because the people before us had been denied visas. And I'm like, yeah, I got the visa. And she could not believe it. We had to contain our excitement until we walked outside and we were jumping up and down. And it's so funny. It's like, it's amazing, like how humans all rally like for you at that moment, because a lot of people we didn't know. Like when we walked outside, the first question, did you guys get the visa?
Right.
And I said yes. And they were like, oh, yeah. And they were happy and excited.
Yeah, but it's I don't think any experience matched that feeling.
No. I just believe we all have energy around us. Because it was the same thing for my second interview. Because remember I told you the J1 visa has a restriction of 2 years rule. Right. And it says 2 years rule does apply. So for you to get the same type of visa, to come back to the US with the same type of visa, like to be approved for the same type of program, you have to wait for 2 years.
Right.
And we just shot our shots, and we said, hey, I'm coming. Like I'm not finishing school in Kenya because I'll be held back because they do not recognize American studies in Kenya. So you have to go back like the grade that you were before you left the country. Yeah, and I remember like just this lady, man, she was, I won't say rude, but she was tough. She was tougher than the previous guy. That woman, you touch the mic, she scream on, like she would scream at you. I remember trying to get my papers, and I touched the mic by accident, and she's like, I told you, do not touch the mic, and yelled at me. And before she was cussing people out and sending them back, you're like, you don't have this, I'm sorry, when you get your stuff together, go back and do the whole process.
Right.
Yeah. So I like, and she was like, so when are you planning on going back to the States? And I'm like, these are the dates.
Right.
And she didn't ask me for a lot of information. The only thing she asked me is like, so you're coming from a public high school, are you going to a private high school? And I think with this, like with the consulate, is like if you know your story and you're trying to make up and you're not trying to be complicated, they really appreciate you being super simple.
They have everything in front of them.
Yes, exactly.
People just try to make up, lie to them. It's like they know
Yeah.
And that's why people get denied a lot. They say people just try to speak on things they don't know about.
And then they swear that they overthink. And I just remember my explanation to her was, hey, I was on an exchange program, and that's the reason why I went to a public high school, because being an exchange program for the first year, you get to experience the same benefit as an American citizen.
Really?
Or a green card holder. Yeah, you don't get to pay.
What?
Yeah, you don't pay. That's the benefit of like the first the exchange program. It's an exchange experience. It's basically an experience is that they try to give all these young leaders to be able to experience a different culture, take it back home, and educate people.
Is that only in Kenya?
No, that's the whole. Even in Nigeria, if you have someone who's in high school, they have to be below the age of 21, I believe, so to be able to qualify for the exchange program. But once you come to the US, you have a host family, and then they get the school for you, of course, a public school, and you get to attend school just like all you have to do is get your immunizations and just like anything that you would need to travel, and of course meet all the requirements for the school, but you don't pay like school. You basically just an American citizen.
Wow, I have no idea about that.
Yeah, so I explained to her that, and of course, and then I said, but now I'm going to a private school, and the reason, and she was like, why are you moving from public to private? So, and I explained to her, it makes no sense for me to go to a public school for the second year, because now to go exchange program in a public school, at least West Valley High School when I was going, it was going to cost me $12,000 per year. While else, it's $7,000 to go to a private school. Because private schools, even like colleges, they don't have international fee. They just have one fee. It's already expensive, so they just have one fee for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. And so I told the counselor, yeah, of course, that's the reason why I'm going to a private school. And she goes, oh, cool. Come for your visa in a week.
Wow.
And she granted me. I was like, I cannot believe it. This is crazy.
So going back to what you said about before, so I think I forgot to ask you real quick before we left Kenya. I want to finish up some questions. So the first question is, what's the currency of Kenya?
Kenyan uses shillings.
Shillings?
Shillings.
Kenya's shillings?
Yeah, shillings. It's just it's one of the oldest currencies ever introduced by the British. Shillings.
What is the exchange rate to American US dollar?
Oh gosh, but inflation right now is a bit. Inflation is so bad. So right now for $1, I remember when I was coming to the country, $1 was worth 75 shillings. Now $1 is worth 115 shillings.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
I mean,
compared to other currencies right now.
Yeah.
So since you guys have 3 dominant sections that you explained to me in terms of the tribes and all that, you have so many ethnic groups in Kenya. What are the main local dialects?
So of course it's going to be, God dang it, local dialects. I think almost everybody in Kenya knows how to speak my dialect, which is Kikuyu. Or Kikuyu. Okay.
I would think it's Swahili. So it's not
Swahili.
Swahili.
No, Swahili is not that. So Swahili is an official language.
Oh, sorry, that's a good correction. So dialect, it's like what everybody speaks is Kikuyu. Most of the people say
a lot of people understand Kikuyu because it's the largest group. Remember, so Kikuyu belongs to the Bantu. Right. It's the largest, and a lot, even the slang in Swahili, like when you've heard of the Spanglish, right? So in Swahili, when you speak slang, it borrows a lot of words from Kikuyu.
Right.
Yeah, and then they kind of twist them. So almost everybody understands Kikuyu, and so it's the most spoken dialect in the country.
So what is your local grading? I know you've teach me some
in Swahili.
Give me one in Kikuyu and one in Swahili.
Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at Kikuyu. But I understand it 100%. In Swahili, it's so many different ways you can say.
Just say hello.
Jambo,
right?
That's the simple way. Jambo.
Is that VP?
A VP is slang. Like if you're talking, you don't tell.
So if you say jumbo, what do you say back?
C jumbo. Just add an SI.
Okay.
In front.
Jumbo, C jumbo.
Yeah.
And then what is VP?
VP. So VP, you and I can be like, VP, what's up? That it's like
what's up? Right?
Yeah. So you don't tell no guy like, what's up?
You can't say that to an old person. So I shouldn't say that. I just say that to like a young person. Like,
hey, be like VP, like age mates, stuff
just
like
done.
That. Yeah.
Is that a response to VP?
Yeah, VP poor.
Poor.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Okay.
Like what's up? I'm
VP.
Cool. Yeah.
Poor. That makes you
Exactly.
cool. I like that better though than Jumbo.
Jumbo is more formal, professional. Jumbo. See,
So Jumbo is more professional?
Yeah, Jumbo you can say to everybody.
And that is also Swahili as well, right?
Yeah? Yeah, it's Swahili.
Jumbo and VP is
Yeah,
Swahili,
they're
right?
all Swahili, yeah.
So if we correlate, so Jumbo and C Jumbo, which is the restaurant, is more official. If, let's say I'm going to a meeting, but let's say I'm in the street meeting my bros, I want to act like I'm one of them. I'll just say VP, and you say
Poor.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, it's just simple, easy, but it changes so much.
Okay, so now you make it to the state. After all your process, you get a visa. What was the first city you landed to when you got to the United States?
Oh gosh, Chicago. I don't think I think every single person remembers their first city in the US because you're so excited and you're so out of this world. It was Chicago. It was in August, bro. I thought I was going to die. I've never been in so much heat in my life.
So as someone that's from Africa, how are you about to die of heat?
I know.
Bro?
See, they forget that Africa doesn't have a freaking wet heat. Like Kenya, at least we come from dry heat. And then for me personally, I lived 7,000 feet above the sea level. If you've ever watched a movie called Out of Africa, it's made in my location. It's made in my Out of Africa.
I have to check it out.
Yeah, it is this high elevation, and and it gets like, yes, we got heat, but like we got breeze as well. We have mountains and all that, so it is dry heat. Chicago is just humid. I could not breathe, and mind you that we come from a region where like higher elevation, so our lungs are really good. One other fact, the reason why Kenyans are so good at running is because we don't have to work so hard to breathe because we have really good high elevations.
So you guys literally live in Denver, kind of like how Denver is.
Exactly.
I didn't know that.
Over here is a plateau. America for us is a plateau.
Oh.
Now, when I tell you a Kenyan is struggling to breathe in this country, they really are, because the humid, that is what got me. And I remember I was on the jetway walking out of the plane, and I had to stop and breathe really hard, breathe in hard, and it was just super hot.
This part. Yeah. So, do you remember the first fast food you ate once you get to America?
The first airport?
The first fast food you ate once you arrived. You remember?
So the funny thing is, my parents are not like, they're not big fast food lovers, but I used to get every Mondays. It used to be corn dogs. Every Tuesdays it used to be pizza.
Why is corn dogs?
Because my mom made it. We would go to Costco and she'd get corn dogs, the freezed ones.
Okay.
I think so. But my first fast food, I think, was McDonald's.
McDonald's?
Yeah.
What do you think of it? Do you like it?
No, really. I don't like. The only thing I eat from McDonald's nowadays is chicken McNuggets. The McNuggets.
Right.
The small ones. Of course, back then I loved it. It was the best.
It was the best.
Yeah. When I was doing track and field, of course I would get money to eat out because I wouldn't pack a lunch, and of course the truck would drop us in different chains of restaurants, and they're usually like around McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King. All these are usually like in around the same area. Yeah, and so we get dropped in one area, and I'll just sprint straight to McDonald's.
So, what do you think, in your opinion, is the biggest misconception about the US?
That everybody speaks English. Bro, I found out the hard way.
Right.
Coming and you know, like whenever you're outside the US, you think like there's only one language in the United States, and you just think that's going to be English, and then you come over here and you go to school and you find out that actually that's not the case, because it's a melting pot of diversity.
Right.
And I just have like a lot of people coming from all over, all over the world, and just bringing this diverse cultural background. So of course you're gonna have a lot of different versions of English. So that's a misconception I had about like if I came to the US, I thought everybody's an English speaker, and even those who are English speakers, they're not as good as you might have thought they were before you got here.
Interesting. So, what do you think surprised you the most, though, apart from like the language?
How everything is just massive. Like that's probably like a culture shock. Like when you talk about them, and For me, growing up in Kenya, one thing is that going to school, we had to trek to school. You caught public transportation. Where else, when I came to the US, I saw students driving to school.
Right.
So that surprised me the most, and I didn't know how they did it. Second was, I would say, kids are smoking and smoking, taking smoke breaks in high school. That's something that you get expelled for years in Kenya.
Kids take smoke breaks.
Yeah, just to go smoke cigarettes, and I could not believe that they can do that. It was just, to me, it was just mind blowing seeing high schoolers just telling
So
that
they allow them to go out and smoke.
exactly, or just during lunch hour, kids just go to the parking lot and they start smoking because it's lunch hour. I'm like, how do you do that?
And not get in trouble.
Yeah, not get in trouble. It's normal. It's the norm. And back home, you definitely, if you associate yourself with people who smoke, you will get in trouble even though you don't smoke. So you are basically guilty by association.
Also, more of like it's not just your parents, like everybody around you.
Anybody around you. Like I say, that a kid doesn't just belong to the parent. It's you belong to the community. So it's up to it behooves the community to instill good manners in you. And so that's why they take it to heart to make sure that like you have good manners.
So without you, giving out too much, because I think we're gonna have a second version of this podcast where I want you to kind of break down like your military and career part, because I think that's like that's very interesting. Just like the journey of how you're able to navigate your life from where you come from to that part. But for now, if you have to just summarize what you think in your opinion, like what is the biggest thing that you think you gained by coming here?
Oh my gosh, it's a lot, but I think one of the biggest thing has been being able to give back to my community.
Right.
Because I mean, coming to America and having gone through high school, college, military, and then college, all these have been stepping stones that have also like enabled not just myself but my family back in Kenya, and just being able to put my siblings through school, and also just knowing that I can be of help whenever my family needs me. Yeah. So that has been one like a big success story of me being able to transition from Kenya into the United States.
What do you think is the biggest thing you lost? By moving here?
Yeah, I'd definitely say my native language. I would say, yeah, because then I don't get to communicate as much. Like I said, which I use English full time now. Where else back home I have to interact with older folks who don't speak English. So I've lost a lot of my culture, and I've definitely lost a lot of my native tongue. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, other than that, I don't think I've lost so much. Like, as a matter of fact, I think I've gained more than I've lost. Yeah, so that's how I try to look at it.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
Because what I've lost, it's not like it's just the communication aspect, and also like just being homesick. The fact that you cannot bring home, like as much as you want to try to feel that home back in Kenya, it's impossible because there are things that will never be the same.
Right.
Living in a first world country.
Right.
Yeah.
If your 10-year-old self, if your 16-year-old self, because you moved here when you're 16, right?
Yeah.
Was about to migrate here, what will you tell him or her?
Do not limit yourself. Just like be as open-minded as much as possible.
Can you elaborate on
that? And I'm saying this because like also coming to the US gave me a lot of time to reflect on myself, look back into my upbringing, and look just in my surroundings. And then I noticed if I had to stay super sheltered, because we all come from different backgrounds, everywhere is unique, and that's what makes us so unique. That's what makes like the US unique, being a melting pot of diversity. But like once you get here, you are also mixing with so many diversities, and you would have been exposed to back in your home countries. So that gives you an opportunity to not only see things one way that you've been taught to think, act, and everything. So it kind of gives you like an opportunity to feel things that you were never exposed to, and just have a different understanding. So that's why I say just be open to different, just be open minded, because then that will get you really far. And I can say I remember when I first came in here, because I was really sheltered, and I was like a shell, like really enclosed, and this was becoming very hard for me to try to assimilate into the culture. If I didn't play sports, if I didn't have like a cross country team to like welcome us me into the American high school system, it would have been so difficult, because I don't know how I wouldn't have been able to relate to people over here, because being so close minded and having to think one way. But the fact that with it just took me not so long to realize this is a whole different ball game. So you have to be so open minded. You have to be willing to open up to different possibilities. You don't have to think just the same way that you used to think.
In a perfect world, how much money do you think you need to make to go back home and live full time?
Oh gosh,
Or like,
yeah,
maybe it's in the wrong way. I mean, just think like how much financially successful you think you need to be to live in Kenya full time.
okay, yeah. I mean, the value is always changing day by day. But I don't know if there's a dollar value, because honestly, there are people again, going back into my village upbringing. I think $100 would probably take us about 2 to 3 months. $100 when I was growing up in the village. Today, $100 can barely get you through like a day if you have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So
Right.
it depends. I think it's all in relation with where you're going to be spending that money. If I needed to go back and live in the village, and now I didn't have to live in the city, I I think probably like $1 million would be more than no, a million, probably $2 million would be sufficient enough. To start a home, start my acreage of land, and just plant, grow my stuff, have a decent cost of living. That's in the village. Whereas in the city, you need a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like, if money is taken care of, and that's why I'm asking this, is like, I know most of us down here, people at home probably don't think of this, but we all wish we can go back home at some point. That's the whole point, is to learn, evolve, and take it back to where we're from. And that's why I ask money first, because without money, I don't think a lot of things is possible. You can dream what you want, but you need money.
Yeah.
But apart from money, what else do you think, in your case, is important for you to feel to complete that transition to move back home, whenever that is? Or what do you think you would like to see in Kenya culture, or like in our African countries, to make it comfortable?
I can say one of the biggest thing that I say politics in back home, it's not stable. So the fact that it's not yes, we have democracy, but having a political environment that is not stable, and also you have a system where people getting a position employment don't really have the qualification to be there. It's all based on who do you know, and opportunities being denied to people who actually have the qualification makes it so hard for you to be able to want to go back and invest, or live over there, because then the system is set up to kind of work against you. And so for me, one thing I would like to see change is just the mindset of actually rewarding people who are working hard to make a change every single day, instead of just nepotism, where you're hiring based on who instead of hiring based on what people bring on the table. Qualifications do matter a lot, and that's the political instability that comes into play, because we don't have systems that really fight for middle income for hard workers. We have a system that rewards those who've already been in power, and just handing power down to the same generations over and over again. So it gets a little bit challenging to want to go back and reestablish yourself, because then there are people who own the system, or there are people who will always push back against you, because you bring a whole different perspective. You bring a different vibe. You've been exposed to a lot of stuff, and all these experiences that you're bringing, they are a threat to the system. So until that changes, I feel like I would love to go back home, but and basically live there and call it good. But it would be hard, especially having lived in the States and being able to uh, actually earn what I worked for. While I was back home, you might work like extremely hard, and it's not guaranteed you're going to get your salary, because
Right.
the upper echelon has to get paid first before the person on the bottom of the hierarchy. So
Yeah, I mean I think that's why I'm asking these questions, because I think people talk about it all the time, but only a few people are actually making those decisions. And actually, I think people that like us that have lived it, that know the system a lot, it's actually harder for us to go back because we've seen it,
yeah,
we've seen what it could do. So if I can sum up what you were explaining, though, were you kind of explaining that you would prefer equal opportunity for
yeah,
everyone, not who you know?
yeah. I won't say. I guess like the term equal opportunity sometimes get misinterpreted. For me, it'll be like we should have a system that rewards people who are actually doing something. We should have a system that's set up to actually help people who really need the help, instead of helping people like who actually are taking advantage of a system.
I think that was more of like a moral question, because
Mm-hmm.
I just think back home, it's more of like a kill word, because people just if there's the government's putting out money for some program, people that
Mm-hmm.
don't need that money will apply for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we think it's like it's being smart,
Yeah.
but we just hurting each other, because when that person that really need that
Yeah.
fund needs it, they won't be able to get it because people that don't need it already take it out. I just don't
That's
know.
true. Yeah, and see, like when you put it like money, that's like I like, of course, I think that issue goes on in so many different places. When I in Kenya, of course, we have a really good like they have a good system of like giving. I would say giving, but helping the elderly and the we call it differently abled. They say disabled over here, but like when it comes to, like, for example, I have a master's degree, and if I go to Kenya and I try to get a job in business analytics, and there's somebody else who might know the people who are hiring in an organization, who has no qualifications as I do, but is willing to take a much lesser pay, is going to be granted the job
Right.
and mess up the entire operation. Why
That's what you're
else I'd be
saying.
left outside, even though I'm trying to negotiate, even though I try to put myself way below what I'm supposed to be paid.
So you're saying because you know the job, you know what you're worth,
Yeah,
they will not pay you, they will not give you the
exactly.
chance, but they'll give it to someone that have a cheaper,
Yeah,
that can pay cheaper for, but doesn't have the experience, because we
exactly.
always, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also because they know them, which is
Oh,
good. Networking is good.
so it's two dilemma
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah. Networking is good. It's really good to network, but there should be qualification. One of the thing is I feel like we've lost the quality of product, because when you start having cheap labor, of course the product is going to
It's not
be
gonna be good.
it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that a lot of that in Kenya, for example, when we have road constructions. I remember we would do road construction within a couple months. It's
The
already
whole road is
destroyed
so
because
messed
we
up.
sourced. Yeah, they didn't want to spend that
Well,
money.
I also think like that. Those issues are deeper issues, and we can have this kind of conversation at a later date. I mean, at another podcast, because I think that's more complicated than that. I also think like sometimes, um, people purposely do that so that they can stay in business.
Hmm.
We just don't think long term. I mean, I don't know why people do that.
Yeah,
They wanna come back and have more jobs. So I don't know. I think
so they want something more in their pockets too.
so. This is a crazy one. I
Hmm.
know I've been asked so many crazy things by people that are here that live in America, and
Hmm.
sometimes I don't think they're trying to hurt me or trying to be mean, but they just not aware of it. What have been the craziest thing someone have asked you?
Oh my gosh. This was when I was an exchange student, whether I lived in a house.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, background is I went to a high school, and that is, I would say, 90% Caucasian, basically 90% white, and then a few other races. No, it's like less. The whole school had about 2,000 students, and I think less than about 20 students who were black, probably. And I think I was the only person from Africa.
Africa.
Yeah, so I was the only person who was from Africa. Everybody else is either was from Europe and everybody else from the US. And so they, in my English class, I just remember them taking time and going, so in Africa, do you guys live in houses? I'm like, first of all, Africa is massive. It's like when I talk to you and I say, so in North America, how do you guys do things? North America is Canada, US, and Mexico.
Right.
Exactly.
That's not even 50 countries.
I know, yeah. Africa is like a mass. It's a continent.
It's
So
55
like,
countries.
be more specific. So I feel offended because I used to get offended at like that I have to offer a geography lesson to people, and then it'd be hard for them to reason because also the media has done them injustices by not showing everything as it's supposed to be. And then these people have, but again, like when I look back at it, I see that like, that was a moment that I was afforded to, like enlighten someone,
Right.
show them something different that they haven't seen, and
Yeah.
but I haven't been asked anymore if I live in a. I guess I don't sound as the same way I used to sound when I first moved into the country.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think the worse you sound with your accent,
Yeah.
the more people think of crazy things to ask you.
I think they watch God Must Be Crazy. And they just assume all of us and cow skin running in the bushes.
But like you said, too,
And
like,
hunting.
I've got to a place too, like, unless someone really says something mean, if it's like a young person, I give them a benefit of the doubt because they probably don't know. They probably just have not been exposed to it. And I, like you said, I just try to educate, like, okay, this is what the situation is. But if you're like an older person and you just not choose to learn and you just being ignorant on purpose, I just don't even waste my time. I just like, anyways. So last thing I'm gonna ask you before we roll out tonight is what have been here make you appreciate about home?
Oh my gosh. Again, it just goes back to the simple things in life. We're not material, like we're not materialistic back in back home. I mean, it's changed. At least when I was growing up, we weren't too much about like looks. So that has really made me appreciate the lifestyle that I had at the first half of my my childhood. Just being super simple and finding joy in the simple things in life. For example, just like playing with kids in the neighborhood, just having a meal, at least not sleeping hungry, and that just made my day. Yeah, and just wake up and you hope everything goes well. Where else over here, it's a lot. It is a lot. It's the life is so fast. Life is so fast. You wake up and you have like every single hour of the day already planned out what you're supposed to be doing. So there's so much pressure that's built into it.
Are you talking about US, right?
Yeah. Well, also when I'm back home, it's just like just relaxed. You wake up, you never know what's gonna happen. If plans come, which most of the time you will always get things to do, but at least your brain isn't trying to overthink.
It's not over explode.
Yeah, you're not over analyzing things. It's just simple.
Remember, like when you have to go 2-hour travel, that take a whole day of planning.
Oh my god.
And now you can just drive. You can drive 5 hours to Seattle in the morning.
Exactly.
And then you can still have a full work day and full everything.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an event. I like back home. You think about it's an event trying to plan for like a 2-hour journey.
You have to care about safety. Where you're gonna get the bus at? Who's gonna get you when you get there?
Yeah, and it's funny you don't even think about it because. But the thing also on the flip side, being in America has made me appreciate safety, like you said. Because when I go back home when I lived there, I didn't see this issue. But when I came to America and after, of course, driving and all that stuff and like safety and human life is valued as like it's valued over here. It's the opposite back home.
Yeah.
It's the opposite in my upbringing. Literally, drivers would almost run you over because they feel whenever you have a vehicle, you have you have status in the community,
Right.
and so people almost run you over, and they don't care what you do to what they do to you. They're so worried about the damage you might cause to their vehicle.
Yeah. That's definitely wrong with it.
So safety priority is prioritizing safety over and human life over money and status is amazing.
All right, man. So next time, man, if I get a chance to talk to you, I'm gonna talk to about like I hopefully talk about like the beautiful transition you had here. But thanks so much for sharing your first part of your journey here with me tonight, man. I appreciate your time, my brother.
Thank you for having me. It's been